Hello, welcome back to the Valve Studio. What I'm going to show you today is something I dug out of a trash can over at my little town's Habitat Restore. And it is a Leslie Tremolo unit. I got it out of a Wurlitzer keyboard that they had on the floor for a little while. And then eventually no one bought it. And they took it out back and they were going to throw the whole thing away. So I made a deal with the guys around the back. And I said, hey, I don't want the keyboard. I just want some parts out of it. I'll pay you for the parts. But I don't want the keyboard. They said, that's fine. So I went and pulled out this little tiny Leslie Tremolo unit and took it, basically. So if you don't know what a Leslie speaker is, it creates a frequency modulation effect by having a rotating speaker. And this little Leslie works this way, as well as the larger Leslies that you've seen on Hammond organs. And by doing that, it rotates that around. And so what I'm going to show you is some little things I had to do to it to get it functioning. And I also had a friend of mine, AJ Fullerton, was in town. He came over and we hooked it up to one of his little Gibson tube amps. And he played it and we recorded that. And we'll get to show you that at the end of the video. Okay, let's get started. All right, well, here's the little Leslie unit. And this is the spinning part of it. It's got a big pulley there, and it's run over to a motor. And this is actually a 2-speed motor. I'll show you that in a minute. And this is that label I was telling you about. So it's pretty long. It gives you all the lubrication and maintenance procedures here. And basically the speaker wire comes in here, and it runs through like a 360-degree contactor that runs down and eventually goes inside this enclosure for the speaker. And you can kind of see the wires down here. It's really straightforward. I'll go ahead and show you the motor down here. So let's get down here. All right, so it does 2 speeds by doing 2 different motors. This one's the high-speed one. And this one down here is a low-speed one. So the high-speed one's directly connected to the shaft of the rotating speaker. That shaft goes through this motor and it comes down and it contacts with this rubber wheel right here. And this rubber wheel is driven by this motor. So there's a switching mechanism, which in this design, it had let's get it up here. So this design here had this little switch box, which had a couple of triacs, and it drove whichever motor it wanted to run. And the way it disengages the low-speed motor is that this low-speed motor, when you apply power to it, it moves up, and the shaft of this motor comes in contact with that rubber wheel. This one's not powered at that time, so this one runs a lot slower RPM. And so they achieve motor speed control via 2 distinct motors. You would not do it this way now because you can have motor speed controllers done in a little different way. But we'll go ahead and show you the speaker here. So the speaker, it's like I said, it's like a 6x9 speaker, and the surrounds look great. It's a paper surround, no blemishes at all. And for a 40-year-old speaker, this is looking really good. So in order to get it to run, I ended up tightening the belt. There's a little tension mechanism right here that I tightened up so that the belt would move. It's still really loose. This will have to be replaced with something because I'm at the maximum on this. I did get a little bit of lubrication in there it didn't want to spin very well when I first started. I got a little lubrication in the top motor. The bottom motor would not spin at all. And I eventually just manually turned the speaker cabinet itself while the bottom motor was on, and I got it to start spinning, and then I just let it run. So it probably hasn't operated in maybe, I don't know. I couldn't tell you the last time it operated, but it needed a little bit of coaxing to get it going. I spent maybe about half an hour to get this thing running. So we'll go ahead and switch over to AJ playing this speaker, and we'll enjoy what this thing really sounds like. All right, we're here to test this on the bench. My friend AJ Fullerton's in town, and he's actually the motivation. He called me this afternoon and said, get that Leslie Tremolo unit out of storage and get it going, because I'm going to come over and I want to see what it sounds like. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and let him play for a little while. The speaker's not rotating, and he is playing through a Gibson GA15, which is a tube amplifier, about 15 watts, and he has no effects on. This has a tremolo and a reverb in the amplifier itself. He doesn't have any of that on. We're just plugged directly into it. And he's playing, what kind of guitar did you bring today?
This is my Fender Trash Caster,
okay,
also known as a parts caster, utilizing a Coronado neck and some old gold foil pickups.
Okay, so I'm going to stand away. He's going to play this just as it is, with no rotation. The speaker is pointed actually at the microphones. I have a Tascam stereo recorder here. We'll get a sense of what it sounds like when it's not rotating, and then I'll plug it in on low speed, and he'll go ahead and play around with the tremolo and the reverb over here to show you how funky of a sound he can get. Then we'll kick this up to high speed, and he'll kind of do something very similar. All right, so I'm going to stand back. Sense of that. I'm going to plug it in. It's on slow speed here.
Extra tremolo.
Okay, so I've switched over to the high-speed motor. We'll go ahead and plug it in. He'll do something very similar. So you all turned down now over there?
All clean.
All right, all clean. Here we go.
squeaky bearing. Little reverb. Little tremolo. Going back to just reverb.
So make it sound really bizarre.
Really trippy again.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
So it's got reverb and it's got tremolo, depth and frequency on this amplifier, plus with and
You can almost sync up the two. It's really tricky to it's a little out of phase most of the time.
So what do you think?
It's really cool.
What about the speaker that's in here? Looks like that's a 6x9 or something. Is that okay for what you?
You know, it's a weird size speaker for a guitar amp, but I mean, it's not really a guitar amp. I mean, it is now, I guess.
Well, we'll get there. So the plan is, I think, at some point, is to build an enclosure for this and actually make it so, take this vibration out, or this bearing needs a little lubrication, and I'll make an enclosure for it. But I have to think about how to do the speaker cutouts in the enclosure to accentuate the Leslie effect that occurs from the rotating speaker. I'll give a little thought to that. Might need to do some testing with a test box that I can remove panels with.
Right.
And see if I want to have the cavities on the front and the back, or the front and the side, or both sides, or I don't quite know how that's going to work yet. But that's a future project. But for today, we got the speaker running. It is really quite trippy here. I hope that was captured in the audio. But we'll just let AJ play us out here. Well, there you have it. That's the Leslie Tremolo unit. I got out of an old Wurlitzer. Actually dug it out of a trash can. And my plan is for that is I'm going to make, based on AJ's desire, is make a little tiny Leslie cabinet, which is, it's a, if you've seen a big Leslie, you know what I'm talking about. But he wants a little one. And I'm going to make room in the back of the cabinet for an amplifier at some point. That's my plan for this little Leslie. Okay, well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.